Welcome to Tell You Later, the show where we guarantee a laugh or your money back.
Thanks to all those who support us on Patreon. By the way, there's always room for more.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to their channel.
Hello, viewers. I am from the internet. We've been crunching some numbers, doing some studies, analyzing some algorithms, and we've decided this about you. I think you're going to really like what you're about to see.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Don't forget.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Don't forget.
Do not fail to hit the subscribe button.
And while you're at it, hit like.
Right now.
Hit it!
We haven't got a title song for this show, so we're singing this thing instead.
Okay.
It's really just a substitute. Nonetheless, the melody may stay in your head.
Oh, I hope so.
'Cause it's a tune.
It's a tune.
You'll love to croon.
You'll love to croon.
But there's one thing you should know. We have to confess we do not possess a title song for this show.
Ain't it peculiar?
Believe it or not, we haven't got a title song for this show.
Oops. Hi, I'm Katie Lee, and welcome back to another episode of Tell You Later. I have two guests today. One is our intern, Drew Dayton, all the way from not Ohio, but Chicago and Taylor University. And I have Robert Samo here. Boy, I don't even know how to begin to introduce you, but...
Fellow SFSU alumni.
Oh gosh, I forgot about that.
San Francisco State University.
San Francisco State University, but I was there before you.
You were, but
Yes,
the
'cause I'm
diplomas
just-
look exactly the same, so no one can tell.
I think I have one somewhere. We're trying to negotiate having 3 people here on set. And
There you go.
it's always a challenge because we're in a very limited space. Actually, I think we're going to be showing a little video of how we set up the studio one of these days. Crew of One put one together. I think you were part of it too, weren't you?
I think so.
It's pretty fun. I can't wait to see it. Anyway, first of all, before I get into the conversation interview, my wonderful guest, and Drew's going to help me interview. Thank you to all the patrons out there who are supporting the show. We love you. It's so much fun to be able to do this and cover the costs of things, and we really appreciate you. Those of you who are not watching on Patreon, let me just say, first of all, we have our YouTube show. Those of you who subscribe on Patreon also get a whole bunch more content. You get the whole entire episode along with a couple other special episodes that we do. I don't know if you call it episodes or shows. One's Adventures in Popcorn and one's called Welcome to Later, which is pretty darn funny, I must say. What else? We have special benefits. You know what? It's so cute that I have an intern whose name's Abby who doesn't realize that Mrs. Katie needs glasses. Oh yes, and Anchor and PayPal I must mention, because we're also on Anchor if you just want to listen to the show, and we have a PayPal button if you don't want to subscribe but you just want to help us out. Okay, so enough said about that. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. So we went to San Francisco State University, and you remembered that, but we met, I think, at a Comic-Con.
We met at a Comic-Con. I believe it was at Frankensons, and I was reporting on it. So.
Oh, yeah, because you are a journalist.
Yeah, I run Fanboy Nation. I also co-own Fangirl Nation.
Which is kind of funny.
Well, you know.
Because you're not a fangirl.
No, but, you know, you have to cover your bases, and the women need a place to go, too. You don't just give them a small section on the side.
So are you, like, so what's the difference between fanboy and fangirl?
Some of the topics we cover, there's a lot more literary stuff on Fangirl Nation than there is on Fanboy Nation.
So is it a website?
Yeah.
A show?
It's a website, fangirlnation.com, fanboynation.com. We do interviews on YouTube, obviously, on Anchor as well. We review movies and books and fights on Fanboy Nation, Fangirl Nation, same thing. A lot less fighting and a lot less professional wrestling on that side, though.
Oh, okay, all right. So, and how do, you also, I think you have an actual fan girl who helps you, right?
We have Tori Irwin, and we have, Tori Irwin Biggs. We have to mention her married name as well, and Jessica Greenland, who are both a part of it. And please forgive me, I didn't sleep very well last night, but I'm here and I'm alert.
Because he had a mouse in his house.
Yeah.
A little baby mouse kept you up.
That big, running around, came through the front door when I left it open.
Run across your face?
No, that would have been terrifying.
I'm always scared of that. Yeah, I don't want any mice running across my face.
No.
But why did it keep you up at night? Was it noisy?
No, just the fear that it's going to show up somewhere.
Oh, you've got your new Tell You Later tote bag.
Cute? I love it.
Did you get that at Merchulator?
I sure did. It's so cute. Look,
super
Tell
cute.
Ya Later bag, and it's got everything in it.
Do they have hats? Bill Cosby used to do a skit about that, actually. Well, but now you got an actual exterminator. I'm thinking about, what was the show Pee Wee Herman was in where he played an exterminator?
Oh, man. Pee Wee's done so much. I don't remember which one it was, but...
That was... So at Fanboy Nation, it's journalistic, so you interview people from all walks of entertainment, correct?
Yeah. Yesterday we just interviewed JJ French from Twisted Sister for his new book. We've interviewed Morgan Freeman, Salma Hayek. We've also interviewed, professional fighters. Boss Rutan, he's an actor now, but he was an undefeated MMA fighter, and he's working with Karate Combat. So, we cover all different walks of life. Comic book creators, Rob Liefeld, when just recently, because of the 30th anniversary for X-Force, and he's doing the Snake Eyes crossover for G.I. Joe.
And I know nothing about that. But that's okay, because it sounds fascinating to all your fan people. The fan people nation must love it. And do you actually make a living doing this?
We keep the lights on.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing, because...
It's not like we're Variety or anything, but, the lights are still on.
Yes, but you get to do what you want to do. You don't have to have a whole bunch of corporate lawyers, right?
You need at least one.
You do?
Yeah.
So, you know what? Part of the reason I wanted you to come on here, and I know Drew's going to have a bunch of questions too, is I think people are interested. I mean, they can tell by watching our show that we don't know what we're doing, but you've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
So we want to get some tips and want you to share how you've created your Fanboy Nation, because it pretty much is a nation at this point. The fan people world. You live underground? Is that what they live under? The fan people nation. They live underground. They come out for boxing.
Just convention and mix them out. No.
Yeah, and then they go back underground.
No, people have lives and jobs and everything.
So I want to hear, excuse me, I want to hear about that. Mm-hmm. And I also want for you to talk about how you have gone from being just a journalist, which isn't just, but being a journalist, to venturing into the world of voiceover. Okay. And Drew has mentioned he's interested also in being in voiceover, and I haven't really told him anything, but maybe you can share your
all the people
journey.
Who hasn't told him anything, it's you?
Nah.
Yeah.
Well, you know why? I'll tell you why. I started 40 years ago. You're starting now. Your story is going to be much more relevant for a newcomer than it will be if somebody hears my story. Oh, I picked up a phone. Nobody does that anymore. I called an agency. My agent answered the phone and said, oh, come down here. We want to talk to you. Probably that's not going to happen these days, right? So we want to hear all about that. So, first of all, do you have any fanboy questions or what he does journalistic wise? I know we kind of sprung this on you.
No, that's all right. So you mentioned you started your own website and it's been off. So how did you first start to
And when
grow
did it
that?
start?
Yeah, when did it start and how did you first start to...
And did you study journalism at San Francisco
I studied
State?
journalism at San Francisco State. I spent literally 2 weeks at a newspaper in Southern California. I don't want to mention the name, but MMA.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a long run.
Well, MMA had just started to grow, And one of the local fighters in Huntington Beach, Tito Ortiz, who is recently mayor and no longer, was...
He's not the guy who makes the vodka.
No.
Okay, just...
was light heavyweight champion of the UFC at the time. So I had pitched the sports editor, hey, this MMA thing is going to be huge. We should hop on it and interview Tito since he's a local boy. And they said, pitch that to A&E because that's on par with pro wrestling. And I looked at him, I said, oh, you're short-sighted. And then I walked away because of that.
You don't have an attitude at all.
No,
do you? No.
I've calmed down in my old age.
But okay, so it sounds like it worked out. So what happened? You walked away, you said, to heck with you guys, you don't know what you're talking about. Southern California rag, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Did a lot of freelance stuff. Went back to graduate school, got my master's degree in theology from Vanguard University.
Which totally plays into the journalism aspect.
Well, it was my minor. Was
the Bible is printed? What?
It's all Gutenberg's fault.
Well, I guess, if you think about it, the Bible is journal, right? It's news, right?
At the time it was. Now it's history.
Yeah, wow. And that is so true about journalism, isn't it? What's news now is history later.
What's also news today is your bird cages lining tomorrow. So that used to, for those of you that actually know what a newspaper is, see, it's this big thing with like ink that gets all over your hand that just smells really bad. So.
Yeah, a newspaper. Wow. So 2 weeks you worked at the newspaper. You quit that and went to get your theology degree because you couldn't cope. Okay.
No. I mean, I did freelance and stuff, but I always wanted to go back and have an advanced degree and finish my master's degree. So I did that because my minor was religious studies.
Wow.
And then just continued on from there. And I said, if I ever get back into journalism, I'm just going to do my own thing because Mark Webb, if you've ever seen the movie Kill the Messenger, was a reporter at the San Jose Mercury News, and when he exposed the federal government, and I will say allegedly because I don't want to have the same thing happen to me.
There's an inspector who comes around here, and I don't want to get another violation. We already owe him $375.
Well, Mark committed suicide by shooting himself in the back of the head 3 times from 10 feet away, and I'm not that good of a shot, so I thought entertainment would be easier because if I give a Warner Brothers movie a bad review, they just don't invite me to the next one.
Whoa.
Stick with politics.
That's pretty serious.
Yeah,
so just out of, I don't want to take away from Drew's question, and I'm still thinking about the logistics of that gunshot, that you went back to get your theology degree.
I taught for a few years.
And you said, so that was your intention to teach, not to, because you said if I ever go back to journalism, so what are you going to do with theology? Just sit there and
right.
You talk.
It's to pray that it'll succeed.
That makes sense. Okay, all right. So you were teaching.
Yeah, I taught for a little while with it, a few years, and I said if I ever went back to journalism, I'm gonna have fun with it. And animation has always been a huge passion of mine because it's a very interesting field, especially in Western animation where you lay down the track first and then they animate to you. Or to your voice.
Right.
And then they use some of your mannerisms and your tics and twitches and they stick that into the cartoon without you knowing, and then you find out, wait, that's me?
Hi, I'm Katie Lee.
And I'm the Crew of One, and we're here to tell you a little secret. Guess what? Did you know you can access any and all of our content for free until the end of the month?
Yes, I did. We call it Love Us or Leave Us. Why? Because you may know us from the Tell You Later show on YouTube, but you are missing a ton of content that we're working on, like...
Welcome to Later, Adventures in Popcorn, the bonus episodes like our quarterly Zoom calls.
Those are fun.
And what is quickly becoming your most popular show ever, 5-Star Cooking with Katie, which is not available on YouTube or anywhere else.
Yeah, just visit www.patreon.com and join at the Audissimo level for free. They don't bill until the 1st.
Really?
Really. So, what are you waiting for? Sign up to see what you've been missing.
Love us or leave us.
There are some similarities, and when I coach people in animation, I always say, add extra stuff. Add the stuff that's not written in the script, like the size and the whatever, physical stuff, because that gives the animator something to draw to. The stuff they hadn't thought of. Oh, they hear it, so they can draw that in.
Right.
But most people think, I guess, from the way you presented this, that the animation is done first and then the voices come in. Is that right?
That's what we learned about Japanese animation with anime, is that they animate first and then they do the voices afterwards.
So they do that? I thought anime started out like ours, but we have to dub it.
No, they do it the inverse. Because,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, I told you you'd learn something. I certainly did.
Me too.
Yeah.
Wow, so that's how they do it all the time over there.
Yeah, and what we found out is that they're basically all in the same room, step up to the mic, cut their line, and step back in the line, and the next person goes.
Well, now that's interesting, because that is kind of better than what we do here. Well, we're usually trying to match their performances when we're doing ADR, which is when we're dubbing in English, the Japanese. But what's missing is that interaction with the other actors, so it must take them a long time, because we usually knock out our stuff. Maybe it doesn't take any longer. Maybe we should try that here, because we usually go in and just read the lines for our characters, leave, and then the next actor comes in. But if we could do it, play off of each other, I mean, that would be pretty cool. Maybe that's what makes their stuff sound a little more dramatic in their language. And when we do it, it sounds like we're trying to talk like this, so that we get inside those lip flaps before it's time for the next line to come in. Wow, okay. So, all right, sorry. So
No,
Japanese animation,
Yeah.
they do the animation first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then what happened? You're teaching theology, learning about Japanese animation.
Because there's a crossover.
Yeah, definitely.
No, and I just said if I ever want to go back to journalism, I'm going to have fun with it. And I said the only way to get into covering movies and animation would go through the back door and cover comic books, because not too many people were doing it at the time. So started reviewing comics and then worked our way through and connected with Warner Brothers Animation and then Pixar and so on. And that's how we got into film. And then we were the first site to do the crossover between covering mixed martial arts and comic books, and people told me I was stupid for doing it.
There's
there
a
was no correlation.
crossover?
Batman's in the cage. I mean, he's at his best peak performance, and then he goes and beats somebody else up.
He was in a cage?
Well, I mean, they're equivalent. Like, if you follow Batman's training in the comics and how in-depth his martial arts training is,
Oh, wow.
it's the same with the mixed martial arts fighters.
I did not know that, no.
No. Batman.
So I just say Batman's in the cage, and then everybody told me it was a stupid idea, and the day
People
I
tell you
announced it-
that a lot, don't
People
they?
do tell me that a lot, and you know, because we had just started working with Bellator MMA, who's owned by Viacom now, and at that time, you know, it's stupid. There's no crossover, whatever else, and I made the announcement, I think, like on Monday, and then Tuesday, the very next day, IDW Publishing reimagined the Joe Palooka comics from the 1940s as a mixed martial arts fighter for a 6-issue run.
Wow.
So.
Wow. So did they give you credit for that?
No, they did not give me credit for it, but you know, I had bragging rights.
All right.
So.
Okay. And which you're doing here. It's fantastic.
I guess so, yeah.
So you just kept So when you first published, was it a magazine, like a hard copy magazine?
No,
Was
it went
something-
all online because there's no it's less overhead.
Right.
You know, you don't have to worry about printing and coloring and, you know, well, I mean, you have a layout, but not to the extent that it would be like, you know, I don't have to sit there and go, oh, there's only room for 23 paragraphs and I have 40, so I got to cut off the last, you know, 30 something.
Mm-hmm. So is that, so you did it online, like, it was like a blog?
From day one, yeah.
Oh, okay. So but now you have on-camera stuff, right?
We got on-camera stuff now. You know, YouTube made it easier for everybody else, and Anchor made it even easier for people to do podcasts, so we went that route, yeah.
All right. So so how long has Fanboy People Nation been in business?
Since 2012. April 2012.
And Drew and I both go, oh, that's math. Like 9 years.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Okay, so I'm guessing that when you started doing your YouTube, is that when you thought maybe I want to do voiceover too?
Actually, you got on my case about that.
Oh.
Yeah. You're like, you have a good voice. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? And after a while, I was like, all right. So I started taking a couple of classes. And
so tell the people,
Mm-hmm.
and Drew, how did you find these classes?
You don't have to go through the usual channels that Katie had to go through with all the publications of like Backstage and Variety and everybody else, sift through trying to find a teacher and a coach. Now you can use Yelp. Now you can just go to their websites and go, oh, what schools are available?
Schools or coaches?
Because there's schools, there's coaches, there's different aspects. There's people that you meet in the industry. There's all sorts of...
you've met like everybody.
Met quite a few people, yeah. And it's all thanks to journalism that it was the backdoor gateway to meeting everybody.
So all those people get your media passes so you can get into Comic-Con for free, right?
And then work 14 hours a day trying to interview everybody.
All you need is a media pass, right? And a camera and a microphone. You record your interviews?
We do record our interviews. We do the roundtables. We do all sorts of stuff like that. But it's very interesting with you guys because one voice actor, very prominent, and it sounds like I throw him under the bus if I said his name, but someone had said, "Oh, tell him X character was my favorite that he voiced," and he looked at me and was like, "Was I in that?" So, because you guys do so much, it's not a dig. It's just that there's so much work that you guys have done over the years.
It's true. We forget.
Yeah. We
forget, and I was telling our interns earlier that I made the mistake. This is kind of a business tell you later show. That when I started, I was just like, first of all, really nervous, right? You get, you don't know these people, they're older than you, and, it's professional, and you always wonder when you first start, am I going to make it, right? So I was just focused on trying to do my best, and I didn't do a good job of keeping track of the names of the people I worked for. Thank you so much to all you patrons who help us out there. We really appreciate your support. Thank you, everybody who's buying merch on Merchulator. Go to my website, katielee.com, and see there's all kinds of cool stuff. And you can see it there or on Merchulator.com. And also those who listen on Anchor, I want to shout out to you guys because I know there's a bazillion of you out there who listen and really appreciate you too. Or the companies that I worked for, or paying attention to any of that. And then after, there was a time when I was so busy, it was just, oh, hi, okay, you're doing this, great, okay, nice to see you, I gotta get out of here, I have another gig, and not really valuing, cherishing the people that I met, and knowing that you never know when they're gonna show up someplace else down the line or meet them. And so, because people move around a lot in this business, work for different companies. So my advice is really pay attention to the people that you're working for. So what were we saying? Did I started out, blah, blah, blah. What were you saying? I got off track. Did 9 years. I know that. And somebody said they couldn't remember what they did. Yeah, as a matter of fact, we were just looking at my IMDb, and I had to show these guys I actually did a voice in the color purple, but I don't have it on my IMDb. So IMDb sometimes it's about 90% accurate, maybe. Yeah. What do you think?
Well, it depends if you update it enough.
Oh, is that? You're supposed to do it. Well, I told you when we did those things, there was no IMDb. Right. There wasn't even any internet. So who thought of that, right?
Right.
So.
And now Amazon owns them, so.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what classes did you take?
I took, commercial voiceover, animation voiceover. Brock Powell became my primary coach. He was the Kool-Aid Man. He's doing all sorts of stuff with Disney and Warner Brothers now.
You took coaching from a guy who said one word?
You know what? If it pays the bills, why not?
Okay.
And it's a phrase.
No, Brock's a friend of mine. I'm teasing. We call him, I always tell him if he were my son, his name would be Broccoli. Really nice guy. Yeah. So, Drew, have you taken any voiceover classes?
I have not, no.
Not yet?
No, not yet. Would definitely like to. I'm just not sure where to start.
I think the one mistake I made in getting into it was I went straight to voiceover classes and not taking a regular acting class. Because it is acting. And I think the reason why I like voice acting more than anything is because the camera's not in your face the whole time.
Right.
It's just you and a microphone in a box. And if I want people to leave me alone when they ask me what I do, I just say I talk to myself in the closet all day.
That'll work.
Yeah.
No, but that's really true. A lot of people, like Jess Harnell always says, little V, big A. There's acting. So you can study, like I studied broadcasting, and I love radio. I love the medium of radio, but I also did some improv when I was in San Francisco, which admittedly that's about the extent of my acting training. I did take some acting when I moved to LA, but life teaches you a lot of stuff. So I've got that now in my corner. But it is acting. It's just learning. The difference is adjusting to your environment, right? The microphone, and it's so in imagination. Voice acting, I have to tell people, you're not going to see it. You're not going to see what's going on, but you have to see it in your head.
And then don't walk away from the mic to create a dramatic pause.
Yes, you can't. I just came from New York. I was doing some voice workshops over there, and it's so funny because I have to tell people, if you do this, we can't hear it.
Right.
So you have to do a sound like, if you do that, we know what you're doing. So you always want to do an action, but you have to add some kind of sound to it so that it's discernible to a listener. Because, like you said, if they're going to draw the animation, they might not do a shoulder shrug if it's not written there, but if you add it in, well, I don't know, then they can draw to that. So there's another voice acting tip. Number 1, 2.
Sure. We'll start counting now.
We'll start counting now.
Yeah.
So you started with voice classes, but you said you found you needed to do some acting.
Right. So I took an improv class, but improv makes me kind of uncomfortable, although we did an improv skit on the way in here.
Yeah, and that wasn't bad. Hey,
thank you. And then took an acting class and went that way.
Was it hard?
To get out of your own head, yeah, because one thing that we learned was that be genuine in what you're doing. It's not the theater. So in the theater, you have to project to the people in the cheap seats, and in voice acting and in camera acting, everybody's already in your face, so it's more intimate and personal.
That's a good tip.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good tip. Plus, what happens, I find, is people who are wanting to, there's so many aspects of being a voice talent, let's just say. You could be doing narration, you could be doing phone answering, you could be doing audiobooks, animation, all different things. But the one thing I think the problem is, we tend to listen to our voice. When I think you're on stage, you're not thinking about, how does my voice sound? Is this the right voice? And nowadays especially, they don't want that, do they? They want you to be natural. Right?
Yeah, although natural could be a million different things. What if you're Gregorius and you're reading a funeral home ad, dude? And you have to tone it down.
Yes, yeah. You
can't be smiling through the funeral home ad.
Yes, you've got to sort of adapt
right.
to the ad. But we always bring a little bit of our personality. Well, I guess. maybe not. I'm not sure. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So you gotta go take some acting classes and some voiceover classes. Well, if we think of anything else, we'll tell you later.
'Cause rhythm rides the range.
Tell You Later is a Patreon-driven entertainment show. Thanks for watching at patreon.com/Tell You Later.
Rhythm rides the range. Rhythm rides the range. Cactus thrive on jump and jive, 'cause rhythm rides the range. Rhythm, it rides the range. Rhythm rides the range. Gunbells drop for Lindy Hop, 'cause rhythm rides the range. The prairie's ringing, guitars are swinging, cowpokes are slinging, syncopated singing.
Lassen die Toast Smythe here.
Ganilla. Co-hosts of Welcome to Later. And when we're not doing that,
We're watching Tell You Later.
join us, will you?
It's our job, you see.